No scripts, no filters, just real conversations. I'm Kathy Townsend. Let's talk.
Hey, Kathy. It's Dan here. And I know you may not know me, but I'm a longtime St. Lucie County resident. And I've started my own podcast. But I don't always have time to get to your county commission meetings. And so I thought I'd ask you a few questions and maybe get a few answers from you. Your podcast episode that you released, I commend you for doing it. I think we need more people in the political spotlight who are willing to go to people where they are and give them information. And as someone who has learned to be behind the camera, I've realized that it's not very easy. And sometimes the message that we intend to relay is not necessarily what comes across after the video's edited and put out. And so I had some clarification questions for you that I wanted to ask. I'm not able to make it to the county commission meeting this month. And so I do realize that a lot of these questions can get asked and answered in those settings, but I'm not able to go, so I thought I'd make it and put it out on my platform, and maybe you pick up on it and you can answer them maybe in a later episode of your show.
And this is going to be setting the record straight, and we're going to begin with Buc-ee's.
You start with a segment that's an update on Buc-ee's. And you do mention keyboard warriors and people who have negative ideas, and I'm not sure exactly who that is. But I think it would be maybe a little more beneficial if you could provide some insights as to the financial impacts that Buc-ee's is going to have on our area, both the positives and the negatives, and the impacts that it's going to have to infrastructures and things that county commissioners are in charge of. As you said in your video, DOT and engineers, and there's all kinds of reasons why projects take a long time to happen. But instead of focusing on those, maybe you could highlight us as to the benefits of having an organization like Buc-ee's come and build a giant gas station off of Indrio Road.
Now let's talk about the data center. You know, when you want to hide behind a keyboard and you don't want to put yourself out there and run for office, or you don't want to pick up the phone and call your elected official, this is how things happen and this is why things are bad. Pick up the phone and call somebody. Call your county commissioner. Call a commissioner that you might know, because the data center is not coming to St. Lucie County.
Second topic that you discussed in your recent podcast episode was the data centers. And for me, this is a big topic. I don't want any data centers built here. I know we're an easy hub for these companies to target because we have the nuclear facility so close. And I think a lot of communities around the country are dealing with that. But for the most part, I think citizens don't, if they knew, wouldn't want data centers here. And you said as much. Governor DeSantis is working to try to get data centers excluded from the entire state. But confusingly, after you say that, you said that a number of our county commissioners are going to go on field trips to other states to check out their data centers. And while I think it's important that we educate ourselves on what these things actually are and the impacts that they have in the community, if our governor is working to outlaw them, should we be going and spending tax dollars on field trips to go check out these other data centers in other states, as you mentioned? It's just something that occurred to me as I was watching your video. Thought I'd ask for some clarification.
So instead of, again, hiding behind a keyboard and running your mouths, pick up the phone and call. Call a commissioner. Call me. I will give you the real truth. I have nothing to hide and I have no reason to lie.
You mentioned a couple of times throughout your recent episode that you've released that you're upset that people are running their mouths and hiding behind keyboards and that they have things to say on the internet. And while I get it, trolls are a problem. It's sometimes best to stay out of the comments. There are a lot of people like me, I think, in our community that have pretty taxing schedules and aren't always able to make it to the county commission meetings. And so by putting yourself out there and making online content, I just think it's reasonable to expect that you're going to get keyboard warriors, but also maybe don't dismiss all of the comments as people hiding behind keyboards. Sometimes we have busy schedules and we have kids and jobs and activities that keep us from coming to those county commission meetings. And while we know they're important, we can't just tell our kid that Little League practice is canceled today. So with that in mind, I would encourage you to just open up to those keyboard warriors, if you will, and try to sort through the trolls. There are some people who are asking legitimate questions on social media platforms that maybe they just don't have the time to get to your county commission meetings. Not to say that we shouldn't try to strive to participate in local government, but I think in today's world, online commentary probably is just as in touch as some of the people that are coming to those county commission meetings. You know, I've seen some of those crazy clips that we get from the meetings, and some of those people that come, they have some crazy things to say, just like the people on the internet.
So the next segment we're going to talk about is what you didn't hear about. Let's talk about the airport. So we all know there's an airport. There's a lot of you that don't know. We are the second largest in the state of Florida, 3,600 acres.
Your next topic of discussion was the airport, and I didn't really gather a ton of information from your video. You did talk about the fact that we have an airport and that there are some delays with trying to expand it, but the majority of your video was talking about staff and other commissioners maybe not wanting to vote for that or not falling in line with how you think about the airport. And I think it's important that you say, you know, one vote can't decide things in government, you have to have three. Well, if we don't have three on this airport, should we really be moving forward? And do we need a commercial airport here? I think it would be wise to talk about the financial impacts and the takeaways of that on your podcast. Maybe you give us the positives and the negatives. And, you know, I think we largely know how county commission votes work.
So the last segment we're going to talk about is how this really works. I get phone calls all the time, or I'm out to dinner, or I'm somewhere, and somebody wants to know why we're the highest property taxes in the state of Florida.
And then the last piece that you hit was maybe the most confusing, and there's been a number of people that have talked to me about this. You talk about the property tax issue that we face here in St. Lucie County, where we have an extremely high millage rate, I believe the highest in the state. That doesn't always mean that we have the highest property tax. To your point, some of our property values in St. Lucie County are a little bit lower than our neighbors. But what really struck me was that your point was that if our property values are lower, our millage rate has to be higher. And I don't think that there's anything that legally says that or that financially would dictate that. Our millage rates don't have to be higher. Our taxes can be lower here than other places, and our millage rates are allowed to also be lower. Just because our property values are low and the government wants more money out of us doesn't mean you should juice up our millage rate in order to squeeze more tax dollars out of our lower property values. All this to say, I commend you for getting behind the camera. It's really tough. And sometimes, again, our message doesn't come across clear. And so I'm not accusing you of giving out bad messaging, and I'm not saying that I even disagree with a lot of what you're talking about. I just found your video to be unclear, and I thought I'd ask for some clarifications. If you'd like to come on and talk about this personally, great. If you want to make a response, great. If you ignore this, that's also great. I just felt the need to hop on my little platform here and ask some questions of clarification on Townsend Unplugged. I really appreciate you if you stuck it out and made it to the end, and if you answer my questions, I'd be very appreciative. I, again, commend you for doing this. Continue. It does get easier to be behind the camera. I know that you probably know that already, but it does get significantly easier talking to just the camera or whoever your production team is. But I think maybe providing more specifics and not talking to your audience as if they're kindergarten class, like maybe provide us with some actual details on these topics that you're bringing up. I think it would be very appreciated.